Alright, so we're going to try something a little different this time. Cuban slider. Now, they sound really cool. The original Cubanas are out of Florida. Great Cuban sandwich. I'd love to try a real one, and next time I'm down in Florida, I'm definitely going to give it a try. This should give me a rough approximation of what they taste like, and I hope they're really good. Here's what the finished product should look like. And we're going to start right now. First thing we need is some ham. So I got this at the grocery store. Probably going to chop it up a little finer. And pork. Now, you're supposed to start with a pork roast. I just went to the deli and had some thick sliced pork, and I think it should work all right. So we're going to take all this and kind of cut it into slices, just so that we can work with it. And hopefully my idea here is, I know it's not like traditional, but I just didn't have a pork roast to use. So we're going to cut it up into strips, into chunks, and that should work for the sandwich. I had to try a piece just to see how it tasted. It tastes good. Now we have to prep this. So in a bowl we're going to add some citrus juice. Of course, I just, instead of actually getting limes and lemons, I had these. Let's just kind of pop the tops off. I've never tried this before, so I just about cut my arm off doing it the first time. Then I realized that once you kind of get the knife in there, you just give it a little twist and see how easy it pops off. So there you go. We've got lemon and lime. That's all going to go into the bowl. Well, that should be enough for our pork, so that's going to go in now. We're going to let this soak for a while, but first we've got to mix it around and throw in a couple other things. So the first one is cumin. I've never worked with cumin before, although I guess I had and I didn't realize it. It's about 3/4 of a teaspoon. When I open up the package, it's like, oh, this smells like taco seasoning. And I'm pretty sure it's a very strong smell. Well, with that, we're going to put a couple teaspoons of garlic. We're going to mix that around. Cover it up and throw it in the fridge and let it sit for about 6 hours. So if I was doing a small pork roast, for this the idea is that we would let it sit and marinate in the fridge. Of course, the other option is just to buy some plain pulled pork out of the grocery store. Next thing we need is dill pickles, part of the sandwich. So I grabbed a bunch. We're going to slice them up into small slices. I don't want them too thick, but we want enough to cover what we're going to do. 4 should be enough, 4 pickles. And then I got 1 to munch on for myself, because, you know, cooking does make you a little hungry. And of course, once that's done, we will set those aside. 6 hours later, in is going to go my pork roast. Now normally you would have to cook the pork, but since I've already done it, all I'm going to do is just put it on high and let it cook for about an hour, just to give it a nice warm up and mush all the flavors together. The recipe I had called for King Hawaiian rolls. You can't get them in Canada, so we got to improvise. Next best thing, just regular dinner rolls. Now the funny thing with these is, you know, it kind of looks like I had a fun time getting them out of the bag, but they had somehow fused to the bag, and it was an ordeal just trying to get them out in one piece. But we managed, and out they come. Now you have to cut them, obviously, And it dawned on me that, if I tried to cut all 12, I'm just going to make a mess. So what I did was I just cut them 6 at a time. That seemed to work out all right. And of course, these are going to make the sandwiches, the mini sliders, that we're going to enjoy later on. I'm not the best carver with a bread knife. It doesn't look pretty, but it'll work. So into a fairly large cake pan, I had to make sure there was enough room for this. I would assume you could use a 9x13. This was just what I grabbed. It looked like it was going to keep everything nice and snug and secure. So don't worry, we're going to trim up everything a little later on. Now the trick is to get everything to fit nice. So we're going to Tetris this all in. Yeah, it looks like it's already full, but it's not really. It's just because of the parchment paper. So when I push all the buns over to one side, you can see here it's a tight fit, but it still works. And we'll be able to make our sliders with this. Now I've prettied it up a little bit. I trimmed off the top because that was irritating me. Got to take the top parts of the buns off and start our sliders. Pork's done. It's been simmering for an hour. We're going to take all this out, get it into a bowl, and start creating our sliders. I can't wait. It smells really good. And I don't know how it's going to taste because different kind of taste to what I'm used to. So I'm kind of excited by it. So we'll put the slow cooker aside. We've got our stuff ready to go. So let's pork. So let's start assembling everything. So I've got everything that I'm going to be using out and ready to go. Like I said, the first thing we're going to have to do is take the tops of the buns off so that we can start assembling our sliders. And the first ingredient is mustard. So I just got a little bowl and a spoon and, got what I thought was enough mustard to get going. And it occurs to me that, you don't have to necessarily use yellow mustard. I don't see why you couldn't use Dijon or any, type of mustard you want to try and use. I mean, you could probably use honey mustard too. That'd be interesting. So we've got the layer of mustard down. Next thing is the ham slices, and as you can see, I took the ham and kind of cut it into quarters. I figured it was easier to lay out that way. At the same time, it will be easier when it comes out of the oven for me to cut. At least that's what I was thinking anyway. Then I kept putting on more layers, so at the end of the day, I'm just going to have to slice through it with a sharp knife and hope for the best. So I was trying to be particular with the ham and get it all nice and evenly neat. I think I got pretty close. Now, I decided to put an extra layer of Swiss cheese on. My idea being that the cheese itself will kind of help the two meats we're going to use kind of stick together. The recipe didn't actually say it was ham and then the pork. I just thought this was a little bit better, and really, what's wrong with extra cheese? I don't know. I can't think of a reason. Well, now that we got that on, let's get the pork. So here's my homemade shredded fake pork. That looks so good. And just the way this is building, I can't wait to try it. It's so different than anything that I would normally make. And it's simple. It's not really difficult. Outside of having to work with the pork and get that all done, I mean, not that that was really difficult. It was just time consuming. I guess from start to finish to do the pork and actually get the pulled pork and that, you're probably looking at having to do the marinated overnight, and then you're going to have to use a slow cooker to actually cook the roast, for 5 or 6 hours or whatever. So it could be a long process. But that's okay, because I think in the end the result is well worth it. So the almost last thing is the pickles. And of course I'm going to anally make sure that they cover everything. I don't think you want them super, super thick. Maybe you do, I don't know. But in the end, I had just enough to cover the sliders that I was making. So that was pretty good. So there you go, 4 does that. Cheese is next. So the second layer of cheese is going to go on top of the pickles. And I'm assuming it's going to kind of ease on down to the other cheese and make it all nice and gooey and yummy. And it'll stick together a lot easier, the sandwiches. Then we put the tops on. And you'd think that would be it, but it's not. Now we've got to make ourselves a little kind of butter sauce for on top. So I chopped up some parsley, as you saw there. Some real parsley. Normally I just have the dry stuff. And into it, we're going to crack some butter, of course. I don't know what that is. What's that? Probably about maybe 3 to 4 tablespoons, maybe? Something like that, anyway. Look pretty good. About that much. Whatever that works out to. And I don't really care about the parsley that's stuck on the butter, because guess what? It's going in the microwave. And when it comes out nice and melty, about a minute later. Here's what we got. That looks like drinking butter. So to it, we're going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic, and of course pepper. The pepper wasn't actually in this recipe. I just decided I wanted the pepper in it because I like pepper. So we'll give it a little mix just to incorporate everything nice and pretty, and then over to our sliders, and we're just going to, hopefully without making too big of a mess, pour it all on top. I was going to get really fancy and kind of spread it out, with a pastry brush and that, but I don't really have any good pastry brushes. And this seemed to work all right, just going back and forth, back and forth. Look at that. So into the oven it goes, and when it's done, there we go. Well, there you have it. Cuban Sliders. They look so good, and they taste just as good as they look. I hope you'll try this. That was fun. I enjoyed trying it, and they were really good. I'm definitely going to make that again. Thanks for watching. Give me a like. Give me a comment below if you try it. I'd love to know how it works out for you. Please share. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.